I love how this movie is basically Gran Torino meets Saving Mr. Banks, so it's like, hey, get off my lawn! But in a nice way? A Man Called Otto, released to the general public here in 2023, and is directed by Mark Forster, who is also behind such films like Monsters Ball, Finding Neverland, Stay, World War Z, and Christopher Robin. And this movie is starring Tom Hanks, Ariana Trevino, Rachel Keller, and Manuel Garcia Rufo. Otto Anderson is a grumpy, middle-aged man living in a suburban neighborhood in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And every day he makes his round in his small neighborhood to make sure that everything is looking good and running properly. But Otto is also feeling very depressed and is attempting to commit suicide. But just as he is about to do so, some new neighbors are moving in across the street, and at first they seem to be breaking all the rules. So instead of offing himself, Otto goes out to help them, which ends up sparking a little joy in his life that makes him go on living. And if this title sounds very familiar to you, it's because it is based on a Swedish book and a Swedish movie that was released in 2015 called A Man Called Ove that I reviewed. I believe I reviewed it last year, but whenever I reviewed it, it was one of the best films that I reviewed that year, and this has become one of my favorite stories that I've ever heard. Like, is it bad that I want to be Otto when I grow up? Like, I want to be that curmudgeon old man that at first seems to be like a giant dick and a giant jerk to anyone, but once you get to know him, if you let him into your life, and if you get into his life a little bit, you learn that he is like one of the most gentle teddy bears ever, and he has literally the biggest heart out of everyone. That's how I want to be when I'm in my 70s and my 80s, so this is something nice to aspire to. Now, normally, I'm usually against these American remakes of famous foreign films. A Man Called Ove, I believe they're remaking Train to Busan, called The Last Train to New York. Actually, I think that comes out later this year. Remakes on movies that are already excellent in their own right, but America feels like, well, you know, it's Hollywood. We're the central of all movies and films in the world, so we have to put our own stamp on it and do our own thing. Usually, I'm totally against that. I would say go watch the original, but after watching this version, this is such a powerful story and a beautiful, lovely frickin' story that I want to see this movie keep being remade and keep being retold. Remake it in any different language. Remake it in any different country. I don't care, because this story is great. Keep remaking it. Keep adapting it. It's gonna be very hard to top Tom Hanks, though, in the role of Otto, who originally in the book is called Ove, but to hear that Tom Hanks was tackling this character for this American remake, I kind of sat back and was like, oh, I hate American remakes, but it's Tom Hanks, so okay, that's gonna be good. And it is. It's exceptional. He does an incredible job at capturing the curmudgeonness of this guy walking around and calling everyone idiots and being annoyed by everyone because it seems like no one knows what the hell they're doing. But you can also tell through that annoyance and through that grumpy old man-ish stuff that it does come from a place of love for his community and for his neighbors and for everyone that's in his life. And with this new family moving in across the way, they start chipping away at that little by little. And as the movie goes along, we find out just a little bit more about Otto's backstory, where he comes from, him meeting the love of his life and doing everything that he can to be with her in Sonia. And it's another thing that I want to aspire to be, because that's how I feel with my wife. I feel that she has such an imprint on me, and just meeting her has been the best decision and best thing that's ever happened to me. And to see the relationship with him and her growing and all of the hardships that they've gone through. There's a huge tragedy that happens to Otto and Sonia that is terribly heartbreaking, but they make it work and they still fall in love and they still live out the rest of their lives together. Now, this movie is just over 2 hours long, where the Swedish version, I believe, was like 2 hours and 45 minutes. It was a much longer tale because they had a lot more things from the book. They covered a lot of aspects of Otto's father and how his father brought him up and how he sparked that intrigue for him to be an engineer and understand how things work. And then after the tragedy that happens with Sonia, there's a lot more things in the Swedish version that Otto is attempting to help her out with, like building certain things around the home and around the community to help her with her condition. I don't want to spoil it because I want everyone to watch this movie, but this American version does leave all of that stuff out. We really just get the bare essence of him meeting Sonia and falling in love, asking for him to marry, and then that tragedy happening. So if there's anything that I could ding this movie on, is that I wish we would have gotten more of the backstory about his father father and then also the hardships that they had to endure, but they made it work and they are still madly in love with each other. But Tom Hanks, again, does an incredible job at capturing just the grumpiness of this character. I love the prosthetics on his neck to make him seem much older than what he is, even though it's very weird to think of Tom Hanks as a grandpa, as an older man, because, you know, I grew up with him in the 90s and Forrest Gump and Philadelphia and all these other films where he was much younger. Now he's at that age where he is going to be taking a lot more of these older roles and grandpa roles, and it's weird, but you know what? He's going to bring a special gravitas and a special clout to any old man role that he takes in the next couple decades, so I'm all there for it. Tom Hanks is amazing. And Marina Trevino, who is the next door neighbor moving in, she is also the other heart of this film. She's the one that starts peeling back those layers of Otto to get him to open up and to reveal all of his hardships and all of the grief that he's been suffering. Without a great actress playing that role, this movie doesn't work. So as great as Tom Hanks is, Marina is just as great as him, and she is wonderful, she is beautiful, she is charming. I love it when she comes on screen because at times she's tough. She gives a lot of tough love, but there are also a lot of vulnerable points that she shows with this character, and that's where Otto swoops in to be that loving father figure in her life, and it just makes this story so beautiful and so wonderful. I just love it. Even though this movie does leave out certain sections from Otto's life that were covered in the book and in the Swedish film, that's okay. It still doesn't matter to me because this story is still great and is still a beautiful thing that I think everyone needs to watch. Plus, it has an adorable stray cat in the film, and watching it this time, it hit me close because this past Christmas, I actually took in a stray that I found under my car in my driveway. She was freezing in the snow and went out there, brought her a can of food, she started eating it, she allowed me to pick her up, brought her inside, and she has been the most cuddly and adorable kitten ever. So to do that and also see that here in this movie and to see the relationship grow between Otto and the cat, it just brought tears to my eyes. This was such a timely movie for me and has become one of my favorite stories. I hope all of you get a chance to see it, and I can't recommend this movie enough. I feel like I'm giving out a lot of great scores for a lot of films in these first couple weeks of the year, but I don't care. Maybe I'm just in a great mood this year. I don't know. But I'm gonna give A Man Called Otto 5 out of 5 Blu-rays.
I think I see blue. He looks glorious.
So guys, have you seen A Man Called Otto? What did you think about it? If you've seen the Swedish version, which do you prefer? Whatever you thought, comment below, let me know what you thought about it. And as always, if you like what you see here, if you like my take on movies, then hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit that bell. See you the next time I'm releasing my next movie review. So guys, I will see you next time on the channel, but in the meantime, be well, be good to each other, and go watch a movie. Take care, guys.